upcoming emerging technologies. And I said to myself, what would be the best thing to do is to bring Alex on to just give us a demystification of what AI is all about. That way, if we have anyone on the call that is a little bit now novice or probably does not have much idea or is new to the concept of what AI is all about, Alex can help us to just demystify what that is all about. So, well before we start, I'll just say welcome to all of you. This is yet another series of emerging trends in the technology space, which we had a season one, and this will be the season two. The season one was on blockchain, and today we are having the one for AI, and also startup grind from this month rather, going through November. We'll be having AI. It's an AI team basically. So welcome to this to the second session, and on this session we will be discussing with Hassan Jallo. He is the founder of Asotech, and those who are in Gambia will know that Asotech is a household name, a startup company that started right here in Gambia. I also want to say welcome to all of you, and I'm sure you will pretty enjoy the session. Let us have Alex do the demystification of AI for us. And yeah, Alex, this floor is over to you.
Thank you once again, JZL. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. So, very quickly, I'll be taking us through what AI really is. So, interestingly, AI, which of course is in short for artificial intelligence, while it may look like a new technology, it has actually been around since around the 1965s when the term was first coined at the Dartmouth College. Since then, artificial intelligence has greatly evolved. Alan Turing published a paper titled Can Machines Think?, where he dealt deep into the nitty-gritties of machines being able to reason and think just like humans. Now, for many of us in the room who this might be the very first time we're attending a webinar or anything AI related, AI is simply a simulation of human intelligence. As humans, we're able to think, we're able to reason, unlike animals and other species that have a lower mental cognitive power. We are able to communicate, we are able to have musical intelligence, we're able to recognize notes, we have intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligence. We as humans are the apex civilization, and AI is simply an effort to mimic that. AI is the simulation of human abilities, mostly intellectual, in machines. So it is a form of intelligence that can be compared to human intelligence, only that it is artificial. It is inspired of the perceptron, which looks at the brain's mode of behavior. And it is a field that is drastically changing lives. As of today, a kid that's 13-year-old can build an entire web application through vibe coding. AI, my friends, is the change we've been waiting for. It is the next revolution. It is the electricity of our age. AI is not just what we see on ChatGPT, is what we live, breathe, and eat. AI has become a very central part of the human life and experience. Thank you very much.
Hi all. Oh, okay, Jezil is back.
Hello. Yeah, I was trying to do one or two things in the background while Alex was presenting. So yeah, Alex, thank you very much, and I hope that has given us just a great understanding of what AI is all about and how AI is going to help or will help or we expect for it to help. Because as it is right now, you have a lot of people that have a wrong perspective about what AI is all about. And I will just show you this, just a fun fact. I sent my link to this event to my mom, the flyer to be specific, and she was like, "Oh, this is wonderful." And then guess what? She sent back to me a video, a completely different video, telling me about what the negative sides of AI. And when I watched it, I just laughed and said, "Okay, I'm sure she's already absorbed all this information, and right now she's trying to tell me, is this a good thing that you're going to do? Is AI not supposed to take over the world? Is AI not supposed to make us a little bit more dumber than we are, or is AI not going to take our jobs?" And I think that's the misconception that most people are having currently right now, and that is very, very difficult. I have my director on online. I would just like to spotlight him and say, Modu, can you just say what your own take is on this concept of AI taking over our jobs and AI making us more dumb, before we just slide into the main topic with Hassan in a little bit.
Thanks, Jezel. It's your show anyway, but it's good to see people like Azan, Aliu Jallo, and Alex, and all these guys that are doing amazing in the Gambia's tech ecosystem. I've been a big fan of all of the work that you guys are doing, in your various corners, obviously observing the impact that you guys are doing. Obviously AI is changing the lives of, the way we work, the way our communities engage, with the people we support. I think that's why this event is very crucial. And we want to hear from people like, Hassan and, and the other ecosystem players that are like helping Gambia to be at the next level. My take on the event is quite simple. We want to learn from all of these people that are helping shape, numerous entrepreneurs that are eager to either, pivot to the tech ecosystem or to build a new product or something like that. I think we just want to hear from the guys that are probably affected, because, people like Hassan have been doing it for a long time. I am curious about what exactly this is changing in the way that they do things. And obviously, Gambia's landscape in terms of tech, how the AI revolutions and what's happening around Africa is really impacting Gambia. So I think for me, it's just to kind of be humble to learn about what exactly those who are helping young entrepreneurs, tech guys, those who are builders, developers, how is this revolution changing the way they work? And obviously, we would come into the policy side as well. I saw something that was talking about as Gambia really needs to have a national AI policy. It's probably something that we need to look at because, most of us working now, you've got Copilot, everything is, helping us do our jobs better. And the other side of it as well is this really making us less smarter to work, or is it really helping us to be? Because if everything that you're doing is basically taken up by a simple system, then probably there is a much more impact that we should really look at. So yeah, just over to you, Jezel. I think for me, it's just to be humble to listen to all of these ecosystem guys, and really excited about what they have in store for this topic. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Modu. And I think you touched on some very key, important aspects when it comes to AI in general, especially for a country like Gambia, which is actually, I don't want to say far behind, but although that's the fact, but that have not really take that bold leap into it to see what can be done within the space of AI, especially also the area of policy and things like that are things that we should really focus on and bring up in this conversation. So basically, this conversation is just to spark that conversation of AI in the context of Gambia, and what are the prospects of AI for Gambia, especially for entrepreneurs and for entrepreneur support organizations within the Gambia, how they can leverage on AI. And likewise, for innovators especially, that's why we have Hassan on this call to discourse and see his approach of what innovators can do to develop products and services, leveraging AI, and how people in Gambia can use AI on their daily activities, just to be able to be more efficient and more proactive in the things that they do. So just a brief introduction of my speaker today. He's Hassan Jallo. He is one of the most innovative, I will say, startup entrepreneurs in Gambia right now. We know Hassan has a company of his own called ESO. ESO has been doing wonderful things in the Gambia. Those of us in the tech space will know how much ESO have been leveraging on technology in different ways. But not to say too much, Hassan, you're welcome to Startup Grind. And funny enough, I was just going through some of our old videos, and I saw Hassan in the audience in one of our Startup Grind events. And I was like, wow, this is wonderful. So Hassan has been a member of Startup Grind a long time ago. So definitely welcome back. And we are even happy to have you after all these years, doing much impact in Gambia, knowing that you are part of the big family of Startup Grind. So welcome once again, Hassan, and the floor is yours. Take over.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. So I think that over the past few decades, we have learned how difficult it is to predict technology, right? It's very difficult to predict how something is going to end up, what's going to happen, what the future is going to look like as far as technology is concerned. We've all heard about Meta's big bet just a couple of years ago on VR, and everybody thought the world was headed in that direction. Then all of a sudden, it took a different turn, and all of a sudden, there were different priorities. So I say that to say there are a lot of unanswered questions and unknowns, and as far as how the future is going to look like, calculate and anticipate as much as possible. But the reality is clear that AI is the future, and we somehow have to leapfrog as a continent. So, as you rightly put it, we are really far behind. So there are so many contradictions in the market. You have people having the same incredibly high internet bandwidth and smartphones, yet you have poorly developed infrastructure. So it's not exactly the same as the developed world was, say, 20 years ago. So I think that there's an opportunity to be able to leapfrog. So I've been thinking about this for a little bit in terms of what is AI's role in shaping the future of entrepreneur support organizations. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the good news is entrepreneur support organizations are to support the entrepreneurs. So anything that AI can do to shape the future of entrepreneurs, it's by extension how it will shape the future of the entrepreneur support organizations. But I do think, we have had a lot of support and trainings. One of the first things that comes up is training, right? There's so much that you can learn as an entrepreneur, especially in terms of the soft skills for running a business. I think that AI can provide an opportunity for personalized learning, where the material can be tailored to individuals based on their specific needs. Now, how that would be implemented, I don't know. Somebody needs to do research, but I think that could be interesting, because as an entrepreneur, one thing you will realize, you learn a lot of stuff, the theoretical stuff, business model canvas, and all the array of random startup platitudes. But you really learn by doing, and no startups or no particular entrepreneur's journey is the same. So the best way to really learn is by doing. So I think that to be able to just quickly run through the theoretical stuff and get the entrepreneurs more specialized information, more specialized learning experiences, especially as they get real-time data from their businesses and what's happening, and see how that fits into their individual profile and plugs in their skill gaps. I think that could be a very impactful way that AI can be used by ESOs, right? Another could be market intelligence. I think that a lot of businesses in Gambia do business by brute force, right? So you just brute force, put billboards all over the place, run radio ads. You're unable to even assess the actual impact of these ads that you're running. So I think that there's so much value in being a bit more scientific in your customer acquisition and even your marketing, and also being able to gather market intelligence to help entrepreneurs to be a bit more targeted and a bit more tailored in their customer acquisition strategies and whatever it is that they need to do to grow their businesses. And the other thing is, a couple of years ago, you would need to raise maybe a couple of $1,000 or $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 to go and hire us to build a prototype to get your product to market. Maybe you don't need that today. Just maybe you can just go online and just tell a generative AI tool to write for you some kind of software, Lovable or something like that, right? So as far as prototyping so far, we anticipate a future where you may be able to write your entire application end to end. But as far as prototyping, being able to show how your product works, being able to test the concept, I think you can get away with a lot by using generative AI tools to be able to generate a rudimentary prototype that will work, that you can deploy and be able to test. Instead of paying us the money, you can do it yourself, right? So I think that is big, right? That is big. So pretty much you can go from idea to prototype in a couple of minutes. That is insane. So every summer we take high school interns, right? Normally we have a curriculum, we get them to learn to code, the traditional classical programming languages, get them learn the whole thing. But this year, I said, we don't know what the future is going to look like. Let's have them use generative AI to build software, right? So that's pretty interesting. So it's crazy that what would have otherwise taken us just a couple of years ago, weeks literally, to do, is taking them a couple of minutes to be able to build. So I think that is massive. I must say, depending on the level of complexity, you can shoot yourself in the foot, because at the end of the day, you can find as complexity increases, it becomes less reliable. So almost takes some skill to prompt and get the right results. But certainly there will be more value if it was being done by somebody who has at least the basics of software development, or somebody who already knows how to code. There's certainly a lot more value there, and there's a lot more that you are able to do than say if you don't have any idea. So there's massive opportunity there. But I think the biggest win is for these experienced engineers, because all of a sudden a 10x engineer becomes a 100x engineer, right? So therefore, you would see that over the past few years, there's less jobs from around the world, because normally they would hire junior level roles to do some of the chores that they will have them do, right? Now, augmented with AI, they can do that within a short amount of time. And therefore, there was a massive dive in software engineering job listings. Obviously, the tech layoffs were a contributing factor, but also now all the engineers that were so overwhelmed that their teams, their managers felt like they should hire more engineers, now feel like, no, maybe we don't need to do it. It's insane, and it only gets better. So there are some concepts in software development, in some software development methodologies. One of them is called peer programming. So it's where you sit with somebody else, but only one person writes the code. So if you're not writing, you see a lot, you have more visibility. So it's as if he's steering the direction, catching bugs, catching errors before you see them, and so on. So it's known to be something that is very effective, two engineers pairing to work together on one ticket. But now you have an AI agent that is your peer programmer, right? If you install Copilot, it does that very well, probably way better than another human being, right? But you are also able to tell when they do something that is very verbose and silly, and you can catch that pretty quickly. And once you correct, it learns and it only gets better, right? So that's a problem, right? So I think the value really now, it's in the product. It's not commoditizing the development of software itself. Because certainly there's a dive there a little bit, but it's more on being able to build a product, because it's not just about the techniques. Like if you look at some of the most beautiful houses that you see, or the most beautiful buildings, it's just concrete and steel and so on. But you can have concrete and steel, but doesn't mean you're going to be able to. It takes a lot of time and effort and thinking and design and creativity. So same with software, right? Just because software, somebody's got to steer it to know what to build, to know what the market needs, and build along those lines. So I think that that's really a great equalizer there. What else? Yeah.
If I can just jump in right there and say, I think you've said a lot, and actually, to be honest with you, all that you've mentioned are actually the things that I was expecting to hear, and the things that are actually trending right now when it comes to AI and in the space within tech. The way it's taking jobs, and effectiveness is causing for developers and engineers, and the way it's the loss of jobs. These are things that are actually creating that whole fear factor amongst developers, especially, and also amongst the workforce of losing their jobs. And so I think that is really important that you've pointed out those key areas. I will want you to bring you into context, which is to say how, in a nutshell, in Gambia, to say, do you think the Gambia is ready for the widespread of AI, and how do you think that is going to look like in the future? Because this is just shaping the future for innovators, and also for the country at large. So, what do you think?
I mean, I'm an optimist, right? So I think that. Okay, so let's just think on the fly as the challenges that I see. So one of the challenges is, for example, somebody just goes to a generative AI solution, writes a prompt to write a letter to apply for an internship, and they spit out something super long that is clearly AI written. There's no effort in it. So things like that sound very catastrophic. I remember we saw a message like that, and the team replied to the person, say, "Hey, write it again without using generative AI," because didn't even remove the placeholder and just left the placeholder there. So basically, the person just replaced the placeholder and sent the same thing back, right? So that is just an example of how you can shoot yourself in the foot with AI. So I think that those parts are concerning. But generally, I think in terms of education, it is insane. And this is something that I don't hear a lot in Gambia. People talk a lot about how they can have AI do their assignments, but not as much about how AI can actually help them understand the assignment. But that's crazy.
What?
Like, you can take some ridiculously complex concepts and have a generative AI tool simplify it and break it down in a way that you don't have a choice but to understand. It doesn't give you an option to not understand it. And then you can ask interactive questions to understand it a lot more. So I think that's big. Maybe there just needs to be a bit more awareness about that. Hey, the idea is not just I just spit out the questions at the AI and just get the answer and just copy it and submit my assignment. Why not? Don't I want to understand what that is all about? With all its complexity, wouldn't I want to understand what this topic is about? Why is it even hard for me to do to the extent that I would prefer to have generative AI tool to do it for me? Why can't I learn how to do it? So I think there's a massive opportunity there that may be underutilized, especially from an education perspective. And maybe this needs to be encouraged at a school level, right? Where students are shown and are coached to leverage these tools. And as far as for software development, I'm not too worried about the potential disruptions of AI. Ultimately, I think it comes down to it's not just about writing software, but it's just about the value that you build for the customers. So I think that the goal ultimately is, what problem do you solve for the customer? What opportunities do you create for your customers? And that is the product. And ultimately, everybody has the same tools at their disposal. And if we continue to learn, we keep learning, and those are the opportunities that we should take advantage of. So as far as how we think the future is, I think it's kind of sad that just when we thought that we have an opportunity to catch up with the rest of the world as far as software is concerned, and AI comes in, and then we are again back maybe 100 years. Because at this point, except you are only a consumer of the technology, it's very difficult to be a producer of the technology. We know the GPU wars that are happening in the world. One, you're going to struggle with compute to begin with. I remember I met recently, back in April, I met a gentleman who runs a startup, an AI, human AI startup, and we're talking about how we could potentially have a support agent that speaks our local languages. And we're talking about how we need a lot of material, including getting news announcements and radio programs and all of these things in Mandinka and Wolof over hours and hours, over years. But then the compute will be the problem. And he told me, hey, maybe if you want to do that, you might as well just start stacking up GPUs, right? So I think it's quite a challenge, but as far as being on the production side of things, as a continent, our contribution to technology is relatively low compared to the rest of the world. We consume a lot more than we contribute. So I think that what we could do now, there are so many tools that we were supposed to build that would have otherwise taken years. We could shorten that gap now. All the software that needs to be built, all the automation tools, all the business orchestration tools that the businesses and government agencies could use. There's so much opportunity there that you can have small teams that can have massive impact. So that will really help us to catch up.
Thank you. I think you did well on that section. With that being said, I have Mr. Aliu Jallo on the call, and Aliu is the founder of Startup Incubator, with the topic ESOs. Startup Incubator is one of the ESOs, or no, if not one of the leading ESOs in the Gambia.
Yes, Aliu, we were incubated by Startup Incubator.
Oh, you see, I thought of it. You see, and I know they have a track record of a lot of startups, that have incubated in the Gambia, and therefore, Aliu is on the call, and I would like to have him to just say his own quota. Mr. Jallo, you're welcome. You're welcome to Startup Grind. You've always been a part of us, and it's good to have you on this time. Asu is taking a quick run. That's fine. So can you just introduce yourself, Aliu, and just touch a little bit on what your own take is concerning the topic before we go in deep. We can't hear you, Aliu. Can you hear me? Aliu. Oh man, this is difficult. Aliu, can you just check? Probably you're having a little bit of technical issues over there, and we'll be back with you in a bit. Hassan, it's good to know that you are you were incubated by. Okay, Ali, can you speak? Yes, I think we should hear you now. Okay. Oh man, it would be nice to hear from Aliu. Aliu, we're having difficulty on hearing you. We can see you very clearly, but to hear you, we're finding a challenge. Yeah, Hassan, can you just give us an insight on how your time at Startup Incubator was like, knowing that you were incubated by them and you're here to this level now, and knowing the programs that they offer and how good the programs they offer. Looking in that perspective with AI, how can you put it together?
Oh no, that was very insightful. I mean, it was the year that the company was registered, and I was just software. I was just writing software, coding the night away. I had very little ideas about business and how to run a business. So it was actually one of the most impactful experiences that I have had as far as entrepreneurship was concerned, and getting the right skills, and especially connecting with the trainers and being able to reach out to them and getting support and asking questions when I need to. So I think that was really, really good, really, really good. It was a good cohort. Mohammed Sanyang of G Farms was in there as well, and many others. Yeah. So it was quite an insightful experience. And thank you, Aliu, for doing that. And we're ever proud of being a client of Startup Incubator, and and all the people who contributed to that, U.S. Embassy and so on. So good stuff for doing that project. We're grateful.
Thank you, Hassan. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can. And what the perfect time to have you in. Go ahead, Aliu. It's yours.
Yeah, no, thank you, Hassan. Thank you all for the opportunity. Just having a bit of a technical issue there. Yes. Yes. So just a bit intro with the Startup Incubator Gambia, but I think now Mohammed is the boss of the incubator. But I'm right now with the I'm an innovation specialist working in one of the North America cities as well. Still doing the same thing, but more on a different scale as well, in a different ecosystem as well. So yeah, no, really excited to talk about AI in terms of how it's the past 4 or 5 years. I had the privilege of working with an incredible number of AI companies and seeing how they're applying technologies into different areas of life, right? We have AI being applied in healthcare, really helping doctors be able to diagnose different type of diseases, and really looking at how AI is also interacting in terms of clean technology, even in the mining industry, in the electricity grid as well, even by measuring how much electricity you're consuming and really optimizing your house's whole for efficiency as well. So there's really incredible innovations around AI. And I think business enterprise support organizations like incubators are really crucial for cultivating some of those as well. And most of it is just bringing the ecosystem and resources together to support companies to really build those technologies. And I really agree with some of the points Asu mentioned earlier around how AI we could leapfrog a lot of the development pieces, because when you look at the infrastructure around AI, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it would be difficult to, especially in the context of Gambia. There's a lot of electricity for all these AI data centers and all of these things to process this amount, incredible large numbers of data. But building the LLM models requires a lot of data training and getting those data trained and filtering those data. There's a lot we can play in, but there's also a lot of open source materials that innovators can really put their hands on and be able to use to drastically innovate. But when it comes to incubators, it's essential to really be able to bring the different type of support that is required to scale these technologies. Because one thing is, yes, we've done a great job with some of the work we've done in Gambia, but there's definitely room for improvement. And it's not it's not only the incubation and this support business support organizations. They're just a piece of the puzzle, and the puzzle has to start with what is the investment landscape for supporting innovations like this? What is the government policy environments in terms of how do we use AI responsibly, right? Like Asan was mentioning, how students could use this more responsibly to help them even better, but instead they're using it mostly, to plagiarize and get their assignments done, and these things are um, not helpful. I'm also in academia as well. I teach a couple of courses as well in the universities here. But it's a constant challenge in terms of what is the responsible use of AI in some of these environments, right? One of the key elements for me is similar to when we had Microsoft Excel and stuff, and most of the training institutions were training us how to use Microsoft Excel, Word, and all of that. And instead of really teaching us the hard skills in terms of how to code and how to get those pieces, we were getting trained a lot in terms of just using it, right? Like, and I think that's not bad, but we really need to invest more in that R&D stage in terms of how do you really help businesses that are really building some of these technologies to get the required skill sets that they need to do. And really, government has a good role to play in this. In advanced innovation ecosystems like in North America, there's a whole structures of banks that are really just supporting investments in these areas, and they are backed by governments to really support the scaling of some of these technologies. And there's also tax incentives and all kind of incentives to really support that innovations and champions those investments as well. And looking at the Gambian innovation ecosystem, we kind of have one angel network. I'm not sure what's happening around that. It's been quite a while since I've been engaged, but one of the other pieces is, we don't have any VC firms, right? Venture capital firms that are investing in some big technologies that has the potential to really transform some of these corporations. So there's a lot of gaps, but AI has a lot of potentials to change healthcare, to change agriculture, really to change a lot of the different sectors. And there's incredible amount of problems that even when it comes to accountability and transparency in our governments, AI has the potential to really make a lot of disruption in terms of tracking and really analyzing some of these data points to really help decision makers make the right type of decisions that they need to do. But for innovation business support organizations, it's like, how do you incorporate AI into those programming that they develop? It's not just say, oh, how to use ChatGPT, but no, like, how do you help innovate from a real problem solution perspective? It's based about what value do you create for the customers, right? Like, how do you ensure that the customers really pain points are being factored in, and then building technologies using AI to really enhance that. And a lot of the things with AI is, if you just is garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you put in, it comes out, and that's some of the tools that But it really has an incredible amount of ways to fast track the experimentations and scaling up those technology, and really being more agile in terms of how much feedback you can get from these AI tools. And one of it is basically, you can launch, I don't know, your app sometime would have taken you some 6 months, 7 months to launch. You could launch it in a day, because you could go online and AI can generate your prototype. You can show it to your customers within a few days. So it's really fast tracking how fast paced companies can launch their products off the ground and get real data customer feedback while they're actually improving on it. I think those are really essential piece, but there should be a more concerted AI policies as well. There's a lot of policies around in different countries are adopting policies, but it's not a rinse and repeat and copy and paste, or the wall is doing it, we also have to do it. But what is the fundamental points of challenges that the country is facing, that we need to make sure that we use responsible AI into those pieces to help scale those innovations as well. So scaling innovation, it's really a very concerted effort. Like, I do a lot of relations with investors over here, and you have issues like, we did some investor reverse pitch opportunities where investors come in and really tell us, like, okay, if I'm investing in an AI, these are the kind of AI I'm looking to invest in, and these are some of the things I look for in terms of growth and opportunities. So really figuring out, how does the AI going to disrupt the banking industry? How does it really reduce some of those barriers we used to have before? Because there's really incredible tools that can help you analyze these businesses in a blink of an eye. Like, research that used to take you, I don't know, 3 weeks to do market research and stuff. You can scrape the internet for any data using AI now. They're really powerful tools, Perplexity and Gemini and Copilot and all the rest of them. There's multiple platter of tools that you can use. But my call for action for business support organizations and governments and key stakeholders is not just, let's just not be users of these tools, but how can we create our local version of innovations to thrive in those spaces as well. So that's my take for now, and I'll just allow you to think if you have any more questions.
No, that's wonderful, Aliu. I mean, it was very good having you to speak on this aspect, especially from the perspective of our entrepreneurial support organization. We had Hassan Ali, and he was telling us about how developers are leveraging AI and how we could shape their future by just fast tracking their processes of developing applications and so forth, and also how AI is helping in making sure that things that you're supposed to do, that will maybe project that will take you, like you said earlier, likewise 3 weeks or 4 weeks, come on, you have it in like 3 seconds or maybe 2-3 minutes. So that just tells you how effective AI is. But also, I'd like to just shift a little bit. We know that these are the good sides, and these are positive ways that we can leverage on AI, the positive sides that AI can be beneficial to us, especially in Gambia. You mentioned the health sector and so on and so forth. For this event, I was chatting with a close friend of mine, and he was giving me ideas of how AI in a broader spectrum is doing a lot of revolution in different countries. In Europe right now, in Estonia, and they're currently going e-Estonia, in the sense that you can apply for anything online, and then they are building all their government infrastructures on blockchain, which I think it's really brilliant. And like Hassan said, we'll have to leapfrog for countries like Gambia that are in Africa for us to get to those levels. But I think it's possible leveraging on AI, like Hassan rightly said. But then I want us to turn our attention on the ethics that is surrounding AI. How responsible are we, and also to look at policies that we can come up with that will help us to make sure we utilize and leverage on AI with the right ethics. Can you just shed some light on that and let us hear what you have to say, and then probably we'll ask Hassan to maybe hop on that before we jump on our Q&A.
Yeah, so AI has a lot of potential to be misused, right? Like there's cyber threats, and now you could use AI to generate very, very convincing, realistic videos and audios to really just take advantage of people, right? Like there's a lot of those happening right now, especially in big cities, and where hackers can really quickly get into your system, and I think it's incredibly hard to prevent. So there's a lot of those risks in terms of the points of the new threat. Like with AI, with new technology comes with new ways and smarter ways of getting around it as well. So one of the other pieces is in terms of the potential for it to discriminate, right? Like there's a lot of surveillance and discriminations, because these tools and information you're feeding the AI sometimes have the potential, they're not private, right? Like once you put in a private information in a public server and all of these things, it's learning some of those pieces and has the potential to be misused as well. And we're seeing a lot of the pieces in terms of there's a potential job loss scheme. Everybody's debating, we're going to lose secretaries to AI agents, we're going to lose these type of jobs and all that. But at the end of the day, it's the mundane task of doing our jobs will get smarter, but at the same time the potential for loss to really lose that critical thinking part in our schools that really supports innovation in a sense. Because if we're using AI basically just to copy and paste information, it's really not engaging our brains, and we're losing that creativity and innovation that we could actually be able to build more credible pieces as well. But when it comes to discrimination, like profiling people in terms of criminal technology, or really scraping your online social media to be listed on certain threads and stuff. So there's a lot of threads in that space, and you could discriminate based on the data, because AI tools function based on the data you train them. If your LML model, language model is not trained with the right type of set data, if you're using just there was this research done study done, and what happens is when you ask the AI tool to identify a black person male between these prompts, it shows you a face of a monkey because it was not trained to show the black person because the data set did not include that kind of people. So the AI doesn't know how to identify some of those species as well. So there's a call in terms of the AI, responsible AI, in a sense that even the data set that you're selecting should be inclusive enough and should be realistic enough to be able to pull out some of those data. And misinformation, right? Like it's a really powerful tool to do a lot of misinformation around things. Like what I'm saying right now could be misused and turned into something else by the AI, and it could go viral quickly because people just consume in a very short time. And those are some of the pieces that I think it's really critical for us, for governments and organizations to really just start building some policies around to see how can you protect the misuses of AI. But it really, I've had opportunities to get a lot of work in a defense. We have a huge defense and aerospace sector where I work, and AI is really used in defense and in the defense industry nowadays, and the wars and stuff like that. So really for that targeting and precision weapons and all of those pieces. So AI is really being used in different places. Now, if it's for self-defense, great, but if it is really to target specific amount of people, and there's all counter-terrorism and terrorism and all of these pieces. So there's a lot of good uses for AI, but there's also potential bad uses for AI, especially if it is used in mass surveillance and implement targeting of people that are vulnerable as well. And there's a lot of education that has to be done, especially within our communities. But then the governments also and institutions need to set up the framework for those things to happen. And for that to happen, it's you gotta put your word where your mouth. You gotta put your money where your mouth is. They have to really be willing to invest in some of this, and but willing for international donor organization to give us money to run 1-2 projects. It's not gonna be changing the country.
I agree with you, Ali. Thank you very much. And I just have one question for you before I move over to Hassan. And this is, what would be your advice to local ESO leaders? What would be your advice to ESOs locally that might want to jump into the integration of AI, but they feel it's overwhelming? What's your advice? What would you say to them?
Yeah, like I've worked in a lot of AI, really very, very, very innovative companies. These guys, these technology companies are building hospitals. Like they're really helping doctors speed their waiting time. They can analyze images of a picture of your skin cancers and tell you how much skin and stuff, but then you still need a professional person to review and make decisions from that point. So it really provides and take up some of the time for those pieces as well. So I think if you want to set up an AI, it's not, hey, how to use ChatGPT as programming and all of that, but how do you support people like Asotech that are really looking at shifting that mindset, right? I remember a couple of years, I think almost coming to 10 years Asu, right? Like, and now what he's able to do. But if we have such kind of people supporting, because I remember it was early stages university, there's a lot of talent in Gambia. There's a huge, incredible amount of talent in that country. And everything that I know and I've learned in Gambia, that's what is serving me today. And it's just in a different environment. But because this environment is really building and amplifying the work that you do, really makes that difference for that. And I think that is the kind of my advice for entrepreneurship organization. And you can't do it alone. It has to be a collaborative effort, right? It's an ecosystem. Now, in a form of an ecosystem is, yes, incubator will support up to a point, but also we can claim how successful he is. Honestly, it's all him with all the incredible things that we've done. But you need to get an ecosystem of support, willing entrepreneurs, but also support systems that take it from one point. You train you to a point, somebody picks it up and support to the next point. But when you're setting up AI programs and things like that, we really need to make sure that you get really talented people within the rooms and providing them the tools to really be able to pilot some of their projects and adaptation, right? Like, ASU can build incredible amount of technologies. Because I remember when I saw Weched, ASU, congratulations on Weched. When I saw it, I was like, whoa. I like when the idea and everything has come in. It's like, so, but if you're not allowing that environment for these entrepreneurs to be able to pilot and adapt their technologies, government needs to figure out, okay, what are procurement pieces that we locally driven technologies that we can use into our procurement processes to help support that entrepreneurship? Because most Gambian startups don't have the investment capitals or venture capital funds that are available in developed ecosystems like this, where you could get a $200 million seed round or $3 million seed round in 6 months to have an 18-month runway to get things going. But for Gambia, using government resources and projects, directing them into a very productive way could really make or break those kind of businesses, because most of these businesses are really trying to survive. And if you look at the impact that and the drive these entrepreneurs have, like when I come here, I'm so surprised and like, wow, I wish I can bring some of these entrepreneurs over here and see what they can do, because African entrepreneurs are more driven. They have a lot of resilience and a lot of peace that they can do. They just lack the resources and the opportunities that they create. And I think that's the kind of collaborative effort we all need to do to create those resources and opportunities for entrepreneurs to thrive.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ali. I think the key word for me that I want to take away is collaboration. I think if we collaborate together, we'll definitely be able to leverage on AI, and that will help us. Hassan, this is for you. Earlier on, we were talking with Ali about ethics. Could you just show your own take on what you think about ethics and stuff to AI in particular, and what the government needs to do, and the awareness likewise, and creating awareness and educating people about AI and how they can integrate it into their daily lives. Like you were mentioned, students that were using actually AI to answer their questions, and instead of trying to let AI help them to understand what their assignment is, maybe it was a math question, or maybe it was a geography question, or whatever assignment, they could use AI in that way positively. But yeah, also you could go ahead.
Understood. I think really Ali nailed that point. And I think that one of our biggest cushions for protection in this country is the fact that not a lot of things are automated and not a lot of technology was used. But that is changing, and it's changing ridiculously fast. And the biggest thing was that our financial system was mostly cash, and that's also changing, and it's changing very fast. So therefore, the threat surface area is much wider today than it has ever been. And always, with whatever infrastructure you build, the human is always the weakest link. It's always the weakest link, because somehow they have to use it anyway. And therefore, there has to be some level of access that they have. And with AI today, that people can make even more personalized phishing attacks that are a lot more believable than before. Where before you could look at some silly spelling errors or grammar and they give you some red flags. But today they will just go to generative AI and write a very professional email and write it in a tone that is a lot more believable. So that's very, very problematic. And deep fakes, where you can just take a copy of somebody's voice, and you can only imagine how much damage you can do with Ali's voice, right? Because it's a very believable voice. so just take a copy of somebody's voice and be able to convince somebody. And the worst part of all of this is you can do it at scale because you have a lot of technology at your service. So it's very concerning. Now imagine if this was, say, you can now get these AIs to speak in a local language, for people who are less tech savvy. It will be quite a challenge. So it's something that we need to start raising awareness about security standards and best practices to the general population. So I think that the threat surface area is much wider today than it has ever been, something that is really worrisome. As far as ethics and regulation, well, I don't have experience in policy. I generally don't believe in regulating something before it even takes off. I think other markets are at a stage where regulation is what they should be thinking about at this point. But I think where we are today, I do not know. I don't have answer to what the government should do from an ethics perspective, apart from the things that definitely, I'm not saying what they should do. I'm just saying I do not know, especially given that we have a long way to go. I do know from a policy perspective is really to push. Ultimately, the foundation of everything goes back to math. I remember my brother many years ago wanted to study medicine, and somehow he decided not to do it, and he didn't know what to study. And I told him, well, if you don't know what to study, just go do an undergrad in mathematics. And he ended up as a AI machine learning engineer, as they called them back in the day. So I think that there should be a lot of focus on mathematics. Mostly in writing software, you don't really need a lot of math, just basic algebra. Depending on which stack that you are in, you may have different levels of math requirements. But if you really do like math and you're good at it, it doesn't hurt to zero in on certain courses that would be applicable in AI. But if you're not as good, it also doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you cannot you not be able to participate or work in this discipline. It just depends at which layer of the stack, and they're all important. I am more interested in the last mile, the mile that faces the consumers, because that's more exciting and interesting. You get to interface with the people and give them the technology right on the palms of their hands, watch them use it, learn, refine it, make it better. So I think that's super exciting. So I think that as a country, we really should push very hard in mathematics. I don't know what we're doing wrong. I really don't know, but I think that we really need to help the younger generation to pick up math. It can be something that you love. I have seen people who did not do so well in mathematics in high school and ended up with undergrad in mathematics, right? So I just think it's the way it's taught. Sometimes the foundation is so bad and they make it so boring. I've seen people who I met this guy who went to study at a particular university. Because of the way stuff were taught, he hated it to death, ended up studying computer science and ended up working at Microsoft. Imagine somebody who was in a computer science program, didn't like it, hated it to death, ended up switching to a different university, ended up working as a software engineer at Microsoft. So sometimes it just comes down to how things are introduced to the students. We have a lot of work to do as a country. And then I think we can start with one thing at a time, whatever we can, even if it means, what kinds of tools what kinds of programs we can run to create awareness. I grew up in a rural area, so does Aliu. Where I grew up, there was no electricity or internet. So somebody just told me about internet. Just somebody telling me about internet was enough for me to cross the river to go create an email address. That email address became the name of the company today. So my point is, there's so much work that we need to do, especially in the rural areas, introducing people. Let's not be afraid to dream, right? I remember when I was learning to code, the people that introduced me to coding will always try to get me to learn the things that they have gone through. But those are so out of date by the time they're getting me to learn it. But today, when the younger people come to me, I get them to learn what I wish I was doing. Or I tell them to stand in front. Perhaps I will guide them here and there, but I don't want them to do what I'm doing. I'll tell them to go forward and do what I wish I was doing or where the world is heading. So that is what we should do when we talk to these young people and get them to look at what the rest of the world is doing and not be afraid to do stuff. Like Ali has said, the things that you've learned here is the same thing. I was lucky to work at a data analytics company in Silicon Valley. I looked at the code. It's the same code. It's the same frameworks. It's the same code. There's nothing particularly special. I've seen code from around the world, and it's pretty much the same thing, sometimes way better by far. So, we need to tell our younger people not to be afraid to dream, that they can write code, they have access to the same thing. It's the same YouTube, it's the same internet, regardless of your internet bandwidth. Everybody watches the same YouTube, reads the same articles. Even if you have a 100 gigabit connection, I have a 10 megabits connection, we are looking at the exact same thing. It's the same MacBook. You're not going to get anything special from Apple. We have the same thing. Maybe the coffee might be different, but we're trying.
Thank you so very much. I love your humor, and I'm glad that you've made this so informal, because this is what Startup Grind is all about. We just wanted to bring the community together and just discuss and share ideas surrounding pertaining topics like the topic we have today: AI's role in shaping the future of ESOs in the Gambia, and also how innovators are making use of AI. So I just want to ask you one question, Hassan, before we jump into AI. Sorry, when we jump into the Q&A, I've been speaking too much about AI to the point I'm just using the word everywhere. Do you think we can build homegrown AI models or data sets tailored to our local language, our culture, and to what our startups need? Do you think we can build our own homegrown AI models and data sets?
Yeah, 100%. Why not? And we will have to, and we will. We will. I mean, there's a lot of challenges, especially the cost of compute. But yeah, of course it's possible. We certainly can do it, and we will do it. And there are actually some projects ongoing trying to work on stuff like that we can't talk about right now. But yeah, for sure.
Would Startup Gambia be fortunate to be having the exclusive, maybe just a tip of the iceberg on the platform?
Yeah, because I mean, we are not. Nobody's trying to write another generative AI model, right?
Of course.
Yeah, but I think that how do you leverage the existing models to train on certain data sets that you have locally to be able to solve specific problems? Because normally you go to the problem and you see the problem go backwards to the technology. One of the very rudimentary examples that is all over the place is an anomaly detection system. So if you have a financial an app that has financial transactions, you want to be able to detect a particular transaction is potentially fraudulent, right? So AI can look at the patterns of this transaction and the metadata it carries to be able to say, is this potentially fraudulent or not? So that you can take action as quickly as possible. So that's a rudimentary example. Those are really old piece of technology that the world has been using for a long time now, but there's a lot of things that are accessible. DeepSeek is open source. There's so much information that you have access to. So it's exciting times, really.
Yeah, wonderful. I have one more question for Ali, but I will want to do it after the Q&A, or should I just do it now? One sec. Ali, currently we know that entrepreneurs. Let me rephrase that. Do we have any open source, or do you know of any open source AI tool that ESOs can leverage on now to help solve certain pertinent problems that they are facing in supporting entrepreneurs? Is there any open source AI tool that you know about?
So in terms of open source AI tools specifically for entrepreneurs, for ESOs, I haven't come across one yet. I've come across a lot of companies that are building something. Now, as to how well those AI and tools are, it's still it's still in a development process. They're getting a lot of feedback on the tools, but there's a lot of like platforms to help in connecting investors and entrepreneurs. And I just got, I think a couple of weeks ago, one entrepreneur that is building a pitch coach. Basically, you go into the platform, you pitch about your business, and it really analyzes your words, analyzing everything with your audience and everything else, and gives you real-time feedback on how you're doing, what you're doing well, what you're not doing well, what are you missing in your pitch, and all of that, and providing you with those feedbacks. So things like that, like there's a lot of those small AI pieces that is going. There's also a lot of element D2Ls, like learning models that you can upload all the content materials on the stuff on the pieces, and then be able to do it as well. We do have a lot of tools that, like Perplexity has a lot of capabilities of doing a lot of the business planning, research, and all the capabilities as well. And then Gemini also has a lot of really incredible research capabilities for entrepreneurs as well. So I think those are kind of like the major ones that you can use. It's just depending on once you have the paid version and the free version, right? Once you have the paid version, has a bit more capabilities than once it's a free version for say in terms of supporting those entrepreneurs. Now in terms of, like, you just want to echo some few points what Hassan was saying is it's when you look at the models that could be produced, right? Like there's so much things. I think Gambia is like a gold mine in a sense, right? Like, because there's so many problems we have and so little solutions, right? Like so then we definitely will need to use open source data and technology, like open source tools and platforms like DeepSeek, open AI and all of these tools to be able to build tailor-made solutions for our people. Because yes, it could be global, but for local solutions in a sense, right? So really, I think those are the kind of support, and I think the innovation support organizations really need to start looking into. It's not more of training now, and I've trained you what is a business plan, how to pitch, and all of those things. Now, a lot of the content you're training them, they can find online with AI and all of these tools. How can you now transform those into tangible testing, experimentations? It's going to be how fast they can actually deploy their technologies and innovations, and not just base it on saying, okay, I'm just building a tool to have an app or thing, but tied to a real problem that people can actually use on a day-to-day basis, right? When I go to the hospital, can I be able to get diagnosed? Like, there's a lot of medicine. One key important piece that I really loved in some of the AI companies that I worked with, it's therapy, right? Like using therapy, using AI and machine learning to really be able to help a lot of the people, get their anxiety, cut them down. They have a lot of proprietary technologies that I cannot share, but they're able to come up with really cool ways of using technology for mental health educations, and to really be able to help people transition from the stage they are to a more good health stage. And AI has really been applied in all of those different technologies. There's brain organoids, there's a lot of AI solutions that are doing quantum technology in filtration of water. There's a lot of technology innovations around even food delivery, right? Like there's a lot of technologies that is really incredible how they're using the optimization of the routes for the vehicles and times and stuff. So most of the technology that we're using today has some form of AI. So the LLM model is just a language level model that is more open, that AI can now communicate just like people. But AI has been in existence, as Alex said earlier, for decades. So it's just how it is used right now in terms of that has a lot of more technology potential as well. But I think one of the pieces for me is, how do we ensure, one of my last takeaways I want to make is, how do you ensure different organizations are supporting entrepreneurs with the tools? But one of the cases is, if they don't have the skill sets, the organizations themselves, they need to understand AI and how to commercialize those technologies in the first place. Because that's one thing about building a tool. You could go to ChatGPT and generate an incredible tool, but if you don't know how to commercialize it, turn it into a viable business, it wouldn't take off anyway. And that's where the education for business support organizations comes in. They need to be able to learn. It's not something I say, hey, let's come and train you. We're doing an AI program. It's showing me how to do AI, use ChatGPT, or you have to use that. No, that's not where the value is. The value is in being able to support these companies to launch innovations and technologies that are really transforming the lives of ordinary Gambians on a day-to-day basis. Asan's Wayched, I remember he also launched something during the elections about reporting what is happening and all this good. All these different tools are really changing lives, and those are the things for me, that's where my passion lies in terms of innovation, right?
Aliu, thank you so very much, and I think that was really, really, really insightful. Thank you for having you on. I mean, me and Aliu, we were on this on the chat on LinkedIn, and Aliu went on vacation. I think he will have to tell us how that vacation went. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was saying, I spent a lot of time with the baby, with the kids running around. So yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. It was great having you on, and definitely, Aliu. This is not going to be the end with you concerning this topic. We will look at part 2, which we will feature you, and we will see what we have more to discuss when it comes to this same topic. Now, I would just like to open the floor and say, if you have questions, you can just probably raise your hand. There is an option to raise your hand, and then once given the opportunity, you can go ahead and pose your question or contribution that you have towards the topic. Currently, we have I think I have about 3 on the chat already. And all right, there's one hand already up. Okay. Mr. Enoch King, you can go ahead. Go ahead. You can have your video on or your audio just if you want, and you can just ask your question. Go ahead. All right. Okay, we will jump. I think I saw a question here that says, how do you see AI in the next 5 years? I believe this is in context to Gambia. I think this is in context to Gambia. How do you see AI in the next 5 years?
My take on that, just quickly, is 5 years is so too long for AI, because it's going too fast that you cannot even predict what's going to happen in the next 4 months, to say how it's going to look like in the next 5 years. But if I'm being very optimistic, in a sense, which is already happened, there's a lot of humanoid robots that are coming up and all of these pieces. But then we'll see a lot of different type of technologies, jobs that we know as of today will change forever, right? Like, there are a lot of writing jobs and a lot of the pieces that is, those will disappear, because what will need to happen is that emotional intelligence, that human parts of the decision making process, that needs to get enhanced as well. I know there's a lot of innovations happening with humans being incorporated with AI, with Elon Musk's brain implant chips. So those will be very common and be standard in a sense. That's my optimistic view. I'm not so very optimistic or pessimistic, but yeah, so I'm optimistic that there's a lot of value it could create, especially for Africa. Once it's utilized, there's a lot of the transparency. It could really boost a lot of transparency. It could really boost a lot of reaches down a lot of the costs of human labor that we do. But then we also have the issue of how are we going to empower the individuals to have the skill sets that they need to survive in the years of AI. So I think that's something really worth digging deep, especially the contents population. It's something that AI is not going to be creating those additional jobs, in a sense, if you don't already have those skill sets. But it could also create those additional jobs if the human capacity is developed to a stage that know how to use these tools. Giselle, I think you're on mute.
Okay. Enoch is ready. Go ahead.
Great. I would want to ask a question. It would be more of a national level, like how AI can be used here, or like to build tools, so maybe can be used in the institutions, in the government here. I mean, what sort of setup, what setup of data modules do we needs to build, and about the security aspect, what laws and regulation are we going to put in place, like to regulate them? I just want to know your answer on this take.
Giselle, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, maybe I can go, and then Asu can take this one as well. For me, for governments, I work for a municipality here, and one of the pieces that's really important for a lot of what they're looking at is it's all about security in a sense. But when it comes to AI, in a context of the Gambia, you have to start using the technology in its first place to see what the limitations are and building policies around it. Because even the United States and other countries, they're still figuring out what policies they're going to bring in. How are they going to make the regulations? Because innovation goes way faster. Innovation actually saves policies, because once you build new technologies and using AI in those places, it now starts shaping government policies for best practices on what needs to do and what are the guardrails that they can put in to do that. And I think the governments need to have kind of like sandboxes where they can actually use different departments to test these technologies and use it and build policies around how they can use it to be more efficient. There's a lot of, like nobody should be applying for a business right now in this day and age, going to an office to get a form given to you. you could do that with a blink of an eye in a second, right? Like those are the basic things we still do. We still have to go to some office and pay for some money and do. You could do all of these things online now, and really be able to do some of those pieces is really essential. And I think creating a bit of a sandbox to test some of these technologies and really adapt the technologies and use them to really create a lot of efficiency in government. But efficiency also comes with a lot of people losing their jobs anyway. That bringing down government in the sense. So it's a political decisions for governments that they'll have to use with terms of. But the best practice for me is really allowing policy, allowing AI innovation to shape the policies and not the other way around. Because if you police innovation, you're curtailing innovation. But once you put guardrails, you're not allowing people to be able to come up with technologies and innovations that pushes. But you definitely also need to keep the population safe by making sure that there's guardrails to ensure for that. We talked about ethics, transparency, and all of these different issues, and data security as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hassan?
Right. I mean, like when we talk about government policies, especially in the context of Gambia, I don't even know where to start. Usually, let's have a technology strategy to begin with and actually execute it. Because ultimately, the technology is just a tool. It just comes down to solving the problem, just like what Ali was saying. It's 2025. There's so many things we do today that shouldn't be manual, shouldn't take more than a few seconds or a few minutes to do. Let's start with those things. Now how AI is going to help expedite that process. I mean, as far as the technology is concerned, whoever is building the technology will leverage AI as much as possible. But when you are in an environment where the basics are not even taken care of, one wonders where you should even start when it comes to policy, because our governments are not short of policies, and they are not really bad at writing policies, except that it just becomes some type of white elephant. So the answer I usually give is that I really don't know, but I think a good start would be the basic things. If I wanted an ID card, I should be able to get it quickly. I don't have just to pay. The longest queue at the ID office is not the process of enrolling for the ID or whatever you need to do, is the payment queue in an office to go and pay money. That is the longest. Let's take care of that. We probably don't even need AI. Old school tech will perfectly fix that. It will be low effort and incredibly high impact. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Hassan. I have another hand up. Usman, you can go ahead and ask your question. I see you have your hand up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So the question that I want to ask is like looking at AI is helping like in job in workplaces and also in schools also. But my question is like the way that we normally use AI, do you think it's helping us more to think or is making more harm than good? Because some of looking at it like in schools also, like what Asan Radhi said, you can see a student that use AI to answer his own question without even understanding what the topic is all about. So do you think it's doing more harm than good? That's my question. And the other question, the other thing that I observe is like looking at here in the Gambia here. Sometimes you see people posting videos that are AI generated. So you don't even know people here need to be educated because looking at it, you see people reacting to videos that are AI generated without even knowing it is AI generated, and they start to share it, and people tend to believe it. I think there should be more advocacy, and people need to be enlightened, like what AI is doing. So that's my take.
Thank you, Usman. I think the points that you raised were valid because I am sure Aliu and Hassan has touched on some of these points that you've just mentioned, and daily awareness is key, and the ethics and we have the best practice available to safeguard us around using AI, and using the tools. AI tools will definitely go a long way. I mean, if you want to understand what AI does, it's better for you to use the platform or the technology rightly in order to know what is happening, instead of just like Ali mentioned, is garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you put in, that's what you're gonna get out. Ali, do you have anything you want to throw on that?
Yeah, no, it's such a really critical point because I'm a young professor at Toronto Metropolitan University as well. I teach innovation and entrepreneurship and technology commercialization. And like in my classes for the past couple of years, almost 2 years, I've been teaching from colleges to now graduate level master students in engineering and architecture. It's not mostly about the students. The students are going to use AI. Like you're not going to prevent them from using AI. It's also in terms of what kind of curriculum do we build? What is that lessons plan that we need to put in place? So the universities are really helping the students use AI responsibly in a way that it helps them to become coached and build their projects, right? And some of the thing is in terms of the exercises, the program. So there's a lot of potential that AI has a tool to do the research and provide that information, but there's a lot of value in having those conversations and engaging and peer-to-peer learning that happens within the classrooms. And one of the theoretical aspect of, what is the definition of, I don't know, define, I don't know, democracy or all those kind of pieces that we usually, the teaching methodology we use is basically around definitions and really be able to help us know the context, and AI can regurgitate most of this information. But I think it's in making sure our curriculums are relooking at our education curriculum in Africa. And this is not only Gambia, this is an entire African continent. You see somebody graduating, and I saw some articles around university pieces and some political elements around education, but there's some elements of truth in some of the concerns that were raised, and in the sense that it's not because it's a bad thing that the university is doing, but it's the curriculum that we're using that is no longer serving us as a country, and that's what needs to be revisited in terms of, okay, do I make sure, like, here what happens is industry academia works closely in hand together. So my students are doing projects and building technologies for companies. My students are working with technology companies to really help them innovate within those spaces, and these contributes towards their grade points. So they're not just learning what is the definition of this, they're actually building the models and the tools in class and getting those pieces in place. And when I was teaching leadership and project management, one of the pieces is we're asking students to really go out and talk to leaders and really figuring out how do they saddle those leaders and really applicate the entire process of the classroom. It's built for them to apply those leadership skills. It's not teaching them what leadership is, but really applying them in the process. And all of those are graded, and not just the exams, the A's, the B's, and the things, but really providing those students with the critical skills and critical thinking that is required for them to be able to deliver. Right. And we need to revisit our education curriculum. And you looked about like all those apprenticeships, those experience of working with industry, academia, because the reason why people like myself are teaching, I don't have a PhD to teach a master's of graduate level, but I have enough industry experience at an education level that allows me to teach, because now whatever I'm teaching is what I'm applying in industry. I'm running businesses and building businesses. Now I go in there and teach businesses as well. So even when it comes to the type of education that we did, it's both encompassing academia and industry are working handily together, and they're bridging those gaps. And there are government programs and initiatives that are allowing these students that are paid to do internships and opportunities to really get a practical experience. AI has a lot of potential to coach people in the process, because if I'm just using AI to help me writing my emails, yes, it's saving me time. I look like, I write a nice email, but I'm not learning how that email was written. But I can write my email and ask AI to tell me what is wrong with my email and how I can fix it. So those are two different things. We're doing the same thing. We're using AI to write, but I'm using AI to learn while you're using AI to regurgitate information. So it's all about the context in which you use it and how best you can use AI to really enhance your skill set and critical thinking, because that's the bigger component we're missing. And it's not cramming something and just dumping it on the paper. That's why we have a lot of these issues when people graduate from certain universities or colleges and high schools. They go to industry, they struggle because what they learned in classroom is not what industry is requiring. And there's a huge gap in that space. And really bridging that gap, AI has a potential to do that, but not only AI, this has to be a concerted effort between industry and academia working closely together to make this work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Aliu. I had a post on the Q&A. This is more of a contribution. Musa Jaite is saying, interesting conversation. I guess more training on responsible use of AI for young people is key, as almost everyone with a digital device is using AI-enhanced tools. We need to come to a point to accept that most of AI is yet to explore the future. We won't do without. The potential harms will also continue to exist. He's saying how we can't even tell its extent. To summarize that, I think he's buttressing on the point about using AI in a very positive way and being responsible in using it, especially when it comes to the youth, and also giving them that exposure and that awareness as to how to use AI. And also, you can't actually deny the use of AI because there are digital devices everywhere we are, and that is very true. Do we have any more questions? Anybody else wants to pose a question to our speakers, or do you want to just contribute whatever it is that you have to contribute on the topic, or just to spark more conversation around the topic? I want to also bring in Hassan just to round up the whole event, to close on that, to probably say to give us his own take on what he's doing within the fintech space. If we do not have anyone that will want to ask a question, can we have Hassan, please? Can you come on, Hassan, and just please just tell us what Waycheat is all about. Aliu had used the buzzword already, and I myself, I'm really excited about it. I've downloaded on my phone and I'm using it. I just paid for my last trip. I think that was 2 days ago. I used Waycheat to make payment for fuel at Logix, and it was so seamless. Can you just tell us what Waycheat is all about, and on what it is that you're trying to, what problem you're trying to solve within the fintech space in the Gambia? I believe Waycheat is sort of a more different platform to the ones that we've seen around.
Yeah, so Waycheat is a payment aggregator platform. We're very excited about it and been making a lot of progress over the past 2 years. The idea is that instead of having hundreds of apps on your phone to do different kinds of things, you have one app and it will have everything that you need. Moreover, you can also connect whatever payment method that you have. So today you can link with your AfriMoney, your QMoney, your EcoBank, your Visa, MasterCard, and so on, Wave, such that if you are transacting with any business, it doesn't matter whether you are on a common payment service provider or not, meaning you don't both need to have Wave, or you both need to have, you could, but if you don't, you still will be able to transact with them. And as far as they're concerned, it doesn't matter how you pay, they're going to be able to get their funds where they want it. But on top of that, we build what you call last mile tech, where the businesses can be able to extend their services. For example, you can pay your Gamtel internet. Instead of every internet service provider building their own app, you can go on Waycheat, you can select the internet service provider, enter the information, pay your bill, and your internet will automatically connect. So whatever needs to be done end-to-end, integrating with their billing system and so on, we will do all of that. We do all the heavy lifting so that you have all of that in one app. So for example, if you're an institution and you have fuel coupons, the institutions can give you fuel coupons printed. So you don't have to worry anymore about leaving the fuel coupons at home, or losing it, or throwing it with your clothes in the washing machine. So you have them on your phone, but most importantly, it's not specific to any oil marketing company. That same coupon, you can go to any oil marketing company that's close to you, that's convenient, and you can be able to redeem it. There are hundreds of things coming. You can pay school fees. If somebody had asked you to pay school fees for them, you don't need to give them any money. Just ask for their student number. enter that student number. It pulls up all their outstanding invoices. You pay with whatever payment method. You don't need to go to any particular bank and queue for hours to be able to pay school fees or even take a receipt to the school. Enter the student number, tap on the invoices you want to clear off, pay with whatever payment method is the most accessible or convenient for you. Pay, and the school automatically knows that you have paid. You don't need to take a receipt there. They don't need to give you a receipt. You automatically have your receipt, and so on. Hundreds and hundreds of things. You can pay motor vehicle insurance. The joke we say is when the police stop you before they come to the car, you could already buy your insurance policy and just show them. You can get travel insurance and so many things, so many features that we have coming in the hundreds. So we're really excited about. We've been having an incredibly sharp growth rate over the past 2 years, and we're getting there.
I get so excited I forget to unmute myself. So yeah, I was just saying, congratulations to you and your team. I am pretty sure that you guys are working tireless to make sure that this product that you have out on the market benefits the people of the Gambia, and indeed it is. And I wish you all the best. Thank you for taking our time within your busy schedule, Hassan and Aliu likewise, to just share insights on our topic of how AI is shaping the future of ESOs, particularly in the Gambia, and how innovators like Hasu, I keep saying Hasu because I keep mixing the name. Asotech is very popular for associating Hassan with that. So sometimes I will say Asotech instead of saying Hassan. But excuse me, Hassan, like yourself as a innovator, thank you for your impact and thank you for your insight. And Aliu as one of the founders of the leading ESOs and also an ESO leader yourself, thank you very much for coming to Startup Gang. We appreciate your time and we say thank you very much. And if you have any last word to say, Aliu, you could say that now and just to close up and round up.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, and it's been exciting having this conversation. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Hassan, any last words?
No, thank you. Glad to be here. I like what you guys are doing. Keep doing it. Looking forward to listening and watching the next one.
Sure. And Hassan, I'm gonna say now, I want to have you on another event, not on another event per se, but I want to have you on a founders coffee chat where we will sit one-on-one and then future on YouTube concerning Asotech and what are the challenges and the futures you have for your company future in the future. Once again, thank you to everybody that joined. We are very, very grateful to have you on the platform. And please do make sure you join again on our next coming event, probably next month. And we might have part 2 where we'll feature Aliu rather to talk more on this topic. But let's look at this space and thank you once again for coming and have a great one. Bye.